Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to this Cabinet meeting and quickly go over some general housekeeping. This meeting is being held in person at County Hall and it is also being streamed live on the County Council's YouTube channel. The recording will also be available to view afterwards. A fire alarm test is not expected during the meeting, so if the alarms sound, we must evacuate County Hall. And in the event of an emergency, please make your way to the nearest exit and meet at the muster point located on the main car park. And it's the 1st of December today, so I will be the first one to wish you a Merry Christmas, because it's not too early now. I've seen the tinsel going up around the building, and I've been watching the twinkly lights as I've been driving in and out to County Hall. Everybody's getting in the Christmas spirit, so let's hope it's a good Merry Christmas for everybody. So let's go to item 1, which is apologies for absence.
We've received apologies today from Councillor James Bensley.
Thank you. We'll go to item 2, which is the minutes of the meeting held on the 3rd of November 2025, which starts on page 5 of your agenda. Can I ask for acceptance of these as a true record, please?
Agreed.
Everyone is in agreement? That's great. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do any Cabinet members have any interests that they wish to declare? No? No one has any interest to declare. Item 4, matters referred to Cabinet from select committees or by full council, and I don't have any on this agenda. So item 5 will go to updates from the Chair and Cabinet members. And the first thing I think I wanted to say was to make reference to the budget that happened last week, which was promised as a budget to kickstart growth, and instead we got the biggest tax and welfare splurge in modern British history. Rachel Rees, she did have a choice, and I'd like to explain this to her woman to woman. She did have a choice. To govern is to choose, and she has chosen higher taxes, higher welfare, and lower growth at precisely the moment that this country needed the opposite. So let's be clear about what this budget really is, and it's a reward scheme for Labour MPs. It's funded by tax rises on working people. And according to the OBR, the tax burden will now surge to 38.3% of GDP by 2030. And that's the highest level ever recorded in this country. The Institute for Fiscal Studies says she's already raised taxes more than any chancellor in modern times. That's not bad for a first attempt, is it? So what do we get in return? Absolutely nothing to increase growth. The government's own watchdog says not a single measure in this budget will make any meaningful difference to economic growth. Not one. Britain becomes a high tax, low growth, low productivity economy stuck in the slow lane for years to come. So instead, she's delivered the largest expansion of welfare since Gordon Brown. She's scrapping the two-child benefit cap at a cost of $3 billion a year. She's reversing cuts that she herself defended just months ago, without a plan to slow the spiralling caseload. Welfare spending will soar by £73 billion in only 5 years. That's not compassionate, it's reckless. Meanwhile, the people who work, who save, who try to get ahead, they're the ones who have to pay the bill, because she has quietly extended the freeze on income tax thresholds. This stealth tax will pull 5.2 million more people into paying tax by 2030. Nearly 5 million will be dragged into the higher rate. This is austerity by stealth, not spending cuts, but tax rises that leave families poorer every year. And make no mistake, Britain will be poorer. Real household disposable income will grow at just 0.5% a year, half the pace of the last decade, the decade where she slated our government, and yet we didn't see this sort of slowing of the economy under our watch. She's so busy extracting money from the economy, she's forgotten that people actually need to live on the income that remains. They claimed they had a plan for growth, higher employment, the fastest growth in the G7, more investment. Today, all of that is gone. The OBR confirms the government now has no chance of reaching its 80% employment target. So unemployment will rise by nearly 250,000 people next year alone. Business investment is squeezed, productivity is flat, and the growth mission has died before it's even begun. And yet the spending pressures keep mounting. The SEND crisis that we are acutely aware of, that's long been ignored will now cost £6 billion a year with no savings identified. Asylum costs have mysteriously ballooned, and rather than reforming the systems, they've shoved the liabilities from councils to Whitehall, but they're not actually going to face the deficit that we're already sitting on and which costs us millions of pounds a year just in paying the interest on that debt, which is not our debt. So she's mortgaging our future, and she knows it. We have the highest government borrowing costs in the G7 because investors see the UK as more financially vulnerable than any other advanced nation. She still only has a 59% chance of meeting her own fiscal rules, and that is her idea of responsibility. And I don't think she's finished. When will it end? When will she raise taxes again? She has no mandate, no appetite, and no courage for reform. She governs for the country, but not for the country, but for the Labour backbenches. So let's call this budget what it really is, a retreat from ambition and a retreat from growth, a retreat from responsibility. High tax, high welfare, low growth, Britain condemned to years of stagnation because this government chose political convenience over economic necessity. There was a moment here to lift Britain up, but instead she's chosen to drag Britain down. And I hope the British people will not forget the way that she has let us all down. That's my opinion of the budget, and I know others have similar, but I just wanted to put it on the record because it's something that is going to affect us all very deeply in the coming months. Now, I understand we've got some other updates from Cabinet members, so I'd like to ask Councillor Plant, you've got an update?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm delighted to share that Norfolk County Council and Beryl won a national award last week for our successful partnership in providing a Norwich micromobility scheme that is providing the ever-popular e-bikes and e-scooters and bike hire scheme in and around Norwich. This was recognised at the National City Transport and Traffic Innovation Awards, where Norfolk and Beryl beat off competition from around the country to win the Micromobility Award at the ceremony last week. This is a fantastic recognition of the hard work from everyone involved in Norfolk's micromobility scheme, and we should all be proud of this success and national recognition. We were up against much larger cities and organisations, so this really shows how well our scheme here is doing. Our Norwich scheme now has over 100,000 users who have completed over 2 million journeys and has cut carbon emissions by more than 260 tonnes within the city, which, along with the zero emissions electric buses, is improving the air quality for all those that live, work and travel within the city. It's a great example of innovation, accessibility and partnership, making a real difference for our communities. I've got a second announcement, Chairman, and that is the Thickthorn Junction improvement scheme. We understand the challenges caused by the ongoing works and want to reassure you that Norfolk County Council is working closely with National Highways, who is responsible for the project, to address concerns and make improvements wherever possible. We've been monitoring the situation and have provided feedback to National Highways at several meetings over the past few weeks, highlighting our concerns with the current layout of the traffic merging onto the A47. Following the feedback from Saturday the 29th of November, just gone, morning, the layout will change by National Highways contractors, and I understand it's working a lot better now. Traffic coming from the A11 eastbound will join the A47 in lane 1 with A47 eastbound traffic in lane 2. Both lanes will then merge closer towards Trowse. This adjustment is designed to help improve traffic flow and reduce congestion at the interchange. But it's important to remember that this scheme represents a fantastic £200 million investment for Norfolk. Once complete, it will reduce congestion and make journey times more reliable, increase capacity for future traffic growth, and support economic growth in Norwich and the surrounding areas. And we continue to work together to keep Norfolk moving. We will continue to highlight any concerns and feedback to the National Highways team, who are responsible for delivering this much-needed trunk road improvement scheme for Norfolk. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. And I know that this has eased congestion. I've been through that junction again recently, and it is a lot better. But I don't want anybody to be under the illusion that we weren't on top of this, because we've always been talking to National Highways about it. It's their scheme, but we do our best to make sure that the roads in Norfolk functioned successfully. So thank you for that update. I know there are some people out there. There's a new word, apparently the word of the year is rage bait. This morning it was said on the news. It's about posting messages online in order to enrage people and get sort of angry responses. And there are several people who've been jumping on that bandwagon. It's not helpful. It really isn't helpful, because we are doing our best to make sure that the roads not only get the infrastructure improvements that we need, but also we control the traffic as those infrastructure projects progress. And there's going to be a little bit of disruption, but we do our best to minimise it. So it's unhelpful for people to attack us when we're doing the best job we possibly can, and a very good job at that. So thank you for that, Councillor Plant. Councillor Eagle.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to raise the highlight of avian flu in Norfolk particularly, and there has been some bits put in the national press. Again, I think that's slightly to get the clicks on their websites and points about turkeys. And I would not like to see a repeat of 3 years ago, where a lot of our small producers were actually left with their fresh free-range turkeys because everyone had been panicked into buying either an alternative meat or buying frozen birds from the supermarkets. We are fortunate in Norfolk to be one of the prime centres of free range and fresh poultry, and indeed one of our farmers was actually their chicken was served at the banquet for President Trump at Windsor Castle. So I would urge everyone there, if you have been supporting your traditional independent butcher or going to a farm shop or the farm gate sales, please do so. Some of us will not be able to get the turkey that we have had traditionally from our farmers in recent years, but there will be plenty of turkey still available if you still wish to have and enjoy a free-range bird.
Thank you for that. Turkey is definitely on the menu for me this Christmas, just saying. Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to highlight an article in the EDP today around modern slavery. I think it's something that many people think about as something in the past, but it really is a very real issue for real people being exploited by criminal gangs. I just ask people to be aware when they go into particular spaces such as local car washes, barber shops and nail bars, where they're being asked to hand over cash. Are these people actually being exploited? Think about it. We found over 200 cases last year, and I would suggest that there's far more than that go unnoticed. So I just ask people to be very aware. We've got Modern Slavery Helpline, which is 08000 121 700, and the Norfolk Anti-Slavery Network works hard every single day to try to eliminate this. But it's down to you, and you're the eyes and ears on the ground. So I'd ask you to, think about this when you're out there spending your cash this Christmas. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And I know one of our MPs, the MP in Great Yarmouth, has raised awareness of some of the high street issues, and our Trading Standards Department are working closely on that and making sure that exploitation is not happening. And some of the things that have been highlighted, we are on top of those, and we are going to make sure that those businesses are operating properly. Councillor Dewsbury.
Thank you. It's just to let you know that last week, the fire service won an award for preventative work with adults with learning difficulties. This was them working in partnership with Adult Social Care, the Norfolk Safeguarding Board, and Integrated Care Board. This is a result of a lot of preventative work that they're doing, so they don't just rush to the rescue when there's an accident. They are helping prevent things all the time. So it's good working together, and they deserve this award. Sorry for my voice.
Thank you very much. Yes, our excellent fire service, always ready to step up, always raising money for charity and raising awareness. And just so that you know, they are running the barbecue on our Christmas light switch on this Friday in Loddon at the fire station. And we'll be donating money to local charities, the fire service charity, and also to the Norfolk First Responders. So thank you very much to them in advance. And I will be down there for a burger on Friday night. So anybody else who wants to join me is welcome. Okay, so we will now move on. Item 6 is public question time. We've had one question from a member of the public, The response has been circulated and published on the website. She is not in attendance to ask any other question. And we'll move on then to item 7, local member questions. The list of local member questions and responses has been circulated and published on the website as well. And although there were some who were eligible to ask a supplementary, nobody is here this morning. So we will move on again. Item 8 is Norfolk Fire and Rescue Service Statement of Assurance 2024-25. It starts on page 28 of your agenda, and I'll ask Councillor Dewsbury to introduce the report, please.
Thank you. The Fire and Rescue Service is required to provide an annual statement of assurance on financial, governance and operational matters for the previous financial year, so this is 2024 to 25, and to show how the service has met expectations shown in the Community Risk Management Plan for that year. The aim is to provide an accessible way in which government, local authorities, communities and individuals can assess the performance of the local fire service and see how it has fulfilled its responsibilities. During the last year, our prevention team carried out 8,294 home safety visits to advise more vulnerable people on how to keep their homes safe from accidental fires. The service also worked with the Norfolk Resilience Forum to create a new website to help people prepare for unexpected emergencies. The service also works with the public sector partners on shared campaigns. In the last 12 months, this has included the Older Driver Safety Campaign with Public Health, water safety in coastal and inland areas with the Broads Authority, Police, Coast Guards and the RNLI. And the service has also been working with the Forestry Commission and farmers on wildfire reduction and prevention. Working with the East of England Ambulance Service Trust, the service has expanded its response to time-critical medical incidents. 9 on call and 1 whole-time station are now able to respond to cardiac arrests, and the number is gradually increasing each year as more stations participate. This emergency medical response partnership with the ambulance service won a National Excellence in Fire and Emergencies Award in December 2024. Looking to the future, we have a growing concern for the service is the increasing number of battery energy storage systems that are changing the infrastructure of the county. And the increasing number of electric cars, buses, etc. is also a concern as they take a bit longer to put out if they catch fire. The good news is we do not have a problem recruiting new members, and the number of women joining the firefighting teams is gradually increasing. In 2024, we had 27 full-time and 25 on-call female firefighters. I move the recommendations to approve the statement of insurance for 2024-25. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you, Leader. This morning in this Cabinet meeting, I will be highlighting Norfolk Safeguarding's Children's Partnership. And I speak about partnership working and how well embedded it is. And obviously the fire service report from your protection, prevention and response teams, the fire service actually have also made safeguarding referrals into the services, and they've made 357 safeguarding referrals, 24-25. So it really proves, I think, that we are all working together, and obviously safeguarding is everybody's role. But it's nice to see that the fire service are putting in referrals for both adults and children. So I can only say thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good when all our services work in harmony, isn't it? Which is another reason why a single county unitary authority would be a good thing, because we can keep all of those stakeholders together as single units. Any other questions or comments? No, I can't see anyone indicating. The battery energy storage systems are an ongoing concern for us because of the proliferation of planning applications, and the government did look at this. We did ask them to look to see whether the fire service should be statutory consultees, and they've said no. So that's very disappointing because the cost of any inspections and the cost of any incidents will fall on the Norfolk taxpayer and not on the developer, and that's something that is very regrettable. We are also facing the fire service being absorbed into the new mayoral combined authority under devolution, and we haven't got any capacity funding for that exercise where we actually put both Norfolk and Suffolk fire services under that roof, and we have to extract the other services that come under the fire service at the moment, things like trading standards, for example. So we have asked government if there could be some capacity funding for that, because Norfolk and Suffolk are in a unique position with the two fire services coming under a single mayoral authority. That doesn't happen in other places. They already have a single fire service. So we are unique in that, and it will cost money. And I don't want that money landing on us, and it shouldn't land on the combined authority either. It should be loaded by the government to recognise that this is a difficult thing to do. But we will support both our fire services in making sure that that happens as smoothly as possible. So once again, I'd like to thank Kerry for her excellent leadership at Norfolk Fire and Rescue Service, and for all of her staff and the members who are involved in that, because without them we would live in a much more unsafe world. And I know our public really, really respect and thank you for all the work and hard work you do. Thank you very much. So the recommendation is on page 29. It's to approve the Norfolk Fire and Rescue Service Statement of Assurance 2024-25. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Agreed. Thank you. That's unanimous. Item 9 is the West Winch Housing Access Road, the project update. It starts on page 83 of the agenda. I'm going to ask Councillor Graham Bygrave to introduce the report, please.
Graham Bygrave.
I read the first name on the list, which was Graham Bygrave. Councillor Graham Plant, Councillor Graham Bygrave is over there. He will no doubt support you if you need any assistance, but I'm sure you don't.
That's quite. Hello, Councillor Bygrave. I'm pleased to introduce this report on the next steps for the West Winch Housing Access Road, a project that represents a major investment in West Norfolk's future. Last week, the planning application for the project was approved by committee, marking a significant milestone. This follows the Department of Transport's approval of the outline business case earlier this year. Together, these achievements put us firmly back on track to deliver a road that will cut congestion on the A10 and A47, remove heavy traffic from the village of West Winch, and unlock land for up to 4,000 new homes. The report before Cabinet today sets out how we intend to maintain momentum towards construction, which we anticipate starting in just over a year. A crucial step in achieving this is the award of the design and build contract. The report contains a recommendation which would enable a contractor to be appointed later this winter and to commence detailed design work. However, members will note an issue that has emerged: the cost of diverting the two high-pressure gas mains, work that is likely to be necessary before we can begin construction, has risen sharply. Estimate. It is not clear why these costs have risen so much, and we cannot approach any other company to carry out this work. This represents a 600% increase since 2021 on the initial estimate. So we are pressing National Gas Transmission for a more affordable solution, but we must also plan for the possibility that these costs remain high. The government wants to build this road, the Borough Council wants to build this road, and we want to build this road. We will continue to work with Homes England and the Borough Council of Kings Lynn and West Norfolk to identify funding solutions for any additional costs, and we will bring an update on finalised arrangements to Cabinet early next year. This is an important project for Norfolk, one that will improve journeys, support housing growth, and strengthen our infrastructure for decades to come. I commend the report to Cabinet, and I will go through the, although they're lengthy, I will go through the recommendations, Chair, because there's some important elements in there. The recommendations are: 1, to note the project update and current project position as set out within the report, and to agree the continued delivery of the project, noting the details around the budget position. 2, subject to a planning committee approval, we've got that now, of the WAR planning application and agreement of necessary changes to the Housing England grant funding agreement, see recommendation 3, to delegate to the lead director infrastructure in consultation with the Director of Procurement and Sustainability and Cabinet Member for Highways, Infrastructure and Transport, authority to award the main works contract following completion of the procurement process. 3, to delegate to the Lead Director Infrastructure in consultation with the Director of Property and Cabinet Member for Highways to agree any necessary changes to the previously agreed grant funding agreement with Homes England as detailed in section 6 and paragraph 9.4 to 9.8 in this report, to authorise the making of a common land application and to delegate authority to the Lead Director Infrastructure in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Highways to submit the applications under sections 16 and 38 of the Commons Act 2006 to enable the deregistration and exchange of common land and to permit temporary works on it, applying jointly with or on behalf of the current landowners where required. See paragraph 8.1.8. To authorise the promotion of an S10 order, slip roads order, in conjunction with or with the agreement of the Department for Transport and or National Highways is required to enable any slip roads or any other section of road as agreed with National Highways to become trunk road and cease to be the responsibility of Norfolk County Council. And for that, see paragraphs 8.19 to 8.1.12. To authorise the making of a side roads order under sections 14 and 125 of and in accordance with Schedule 1 of the Highways Act 1980, to enable the improvement and stopping up of existing highways, to construct new highways, and to stop up and provide replacement private means of access to facilitate the delivery of the WAR project. And again, see paragraph 8.19 to 8.1.12. And finally, to delegate, this is an important one, to delegate to the Lead Director Infrastructure to authorise the making, confirmation and implementation of a compulsory purchase order pursuant to the powers set out in sections 239, 240, 246, 250 and 260 of the Highways Act 1980 and the Acquisition of Land Act 1981 and all other enabling powers to compulsory acquire the area of land, the CPO land shown edged red, or to edged red, or to override covenants or rights on land in the red line boundary already acquired by agreement, and to acquire rights over land, the CPO rights land, shown edged yellow on the plan attached to Appendix B of this report to facilitate the delivery of the WAR project. And again, see paragraphs 8.1.1 and 8.1.7. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this report? No? Oh, Councillor Jamieson.
Thank you, Chair. Well, that was a very comprehensive report by Councillor Plant. I just want to reiterate that the most significant new financial pressures do arise from Macquarie-owned National Gas Transmission's updated estimate, up more than 2.5 times over the last year, and, as Councillor Plant so rightly said, up 600% since their first estimate in 2021. So given the Department for Transport contribution is 91.1 million, and that is now fixed following the OBC approval, the project will be reliant upon securing an amended grant funding agreement with Homes England and others, and additional local contributions from the Borough Council of Kings Lynn and from ourselves. Until these are agreed, delivery will remain at risk, but our forward funding exposure is now forecast to peak at 26.7 million by the time we get FBC approval in late 2026. And this is, as I say, largely driven by the requirement to make a payment to NGT. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Leader. I think it's hugely regrettable that a scheme of this size and this impact to provide housing, much needed housing in Norfolk, is at risk because of the inflationary costs that a national gas provider is putting into the project. And as Councillor Jamieson said, Now the outline business case has been agreed, the funding from government is capped and it remains as is. I think it's our duty to call this out and to point this out, and I do hope that the Norfolk media will pick this up and turn the lens of attention to this 600% increase since the initial estimate. That is astonishing, and in any other world that would be considered to be profiteering. It cannot be explained in any other way. There's no detailed presentation. I've read the papers. It says we're looking for detailed breakdown of how on earth they have reached the figures that they are now quoting. And I think it's shameful, and they should do the right thing and provide a proper estimate and contribute to this scheme going ahead.
Councillor Plant.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Harrison. Thompson, that was Thomas. I'll get it right in the end. That's 3 attempts. But you're absolutely spot on. At the end of the day, we've just done the Long Stratton bypass. The relief it's given to that village is immense, and the ability for traffic and heavy traffic to be able to go past the village and get to its destination has increased tenfold. This would happen at the West Winch. West Winch would be relieved. 4,000 houses could be built on the back of this road. We're also doing part of the A47, which is why we're talking about that in the recommendations, because obviously the side road orders and everything else becomes part of the scheme as well. But it's really important that when we do put these schemes forward, there isn't something going to come out and bite us right at the last minute like this. If you remember, under the Norwich Western Link, something came out at the last minute and bit us, and we couldn't get around that one. I'm hoping that this isn't a further sign of things to come in the future when we put these schemes forward, multi-million-pound schemes that benefit Norfolk greatly. We find that sometime, right at the last minute, someone jumps out of the woodwork and presents us with an almost insurmountable problem. And we've got nowhere else to go with this. National Gas Transmissions are the only company that we can use for this purpose. And it's literally 2 pipes to go under the road. That's it. 26 minutes. It's nearly a quarter of the price of the entire scheme to put 2 pipes in under the road. And the officers are working hard with National Gas to try and find a reason for the extra costs, but also whether there's an alternative solution to the issue, because it's a huge, huge amount of money that nobody's ever going to see. But what we don't want to find out is that we put 4,000 houses in, they can't get a gas supply, or the gas supply is reduced elsewhere. So it is an important thing, but yeah, it's very, very frustrating when you get this far into a project that suddenly you find someone throws a hand grenade in and we've got to deal with that particular issue.
Thank you, Councillor Plant. Any other comments or questions? No. Well, I 100% endorse what's been said. Maybe we should ask for quotes rather than estimates, but I suppose they won't give us that. It's always got to be a guesstimate. But 600% increase? They obviously didn't think very hard about it in the first place. And if we'd known that it was going to go up that much, then perhaps we could have gone and asked for more money in the first place, so that it doesn't end up as a cost on our taxpayers. I don't think the general public understand just how hard these schemes are to put together and how many years they take. They get frustrated by the hold-ups. We get frustrated by the hold-ups. It's good news that the planning permission has now been granted. That's a step in the right direction. And I myself have written to National Gas Transmission, who is the company responsible, and asked them to come to some sensible conclusions with us, to talk to our officers, which they've agreed to do, about the way forward, about finding a solution that we can afford, or if there's an alternative solution to what they've suggested, which is moving the pipeline, would they consider that? They've done it in other projects. So I don't understand why they wouldn't do that here. They initially dismissed that. Hopefully we're going to carry on with that. James Wild, the local MP, has also been helping. He's been writing to National Gas Transmissions. He wants to see this scheme go ahead. It's vital for that part of West Norfolk. And we know that our local councillors are heavily involved too. So With a fair wind, we hope we'll get this one over the line. It won't be for lying if that's the case, but you're right. So there we go. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? So there we go. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you very much. So we'll then move on to item 10, which is on page 139, and this is the approval to procure the election address booklets for the combined county authority mayoral election. This comes under my portfolio, and I know there has been some hopping up and down by one particular MP, again, the MP from Great Yarmouth, who has completely misunderstood, unfortunately, the reason why we have to do this. This election address is mandated as part of the legislation. It has to be on paper. It has to be addressed to every single elector, and that's why it's expensive. We can't put it out online. We'd like to be able to do a bit more online, or maybe just one to each household. We're not allowed to do that. That's what has been mandated. Under the Police and Crime Commissioner elections, things were done online, mainly. We didn't mandate this, so I don't understand why the government have made this stipulation, but they have. I've also been asked, is it a political thing? Is it a non-political thing? Who's writing it? As I understand it, each candidate will have their manifesto stroke election address as part of this booklet. They'll each get equal billing, equal space, so it will be fair to all. And it is there so that the general public can be informed about the people who are standing to be their mayor and can make an informed decision. So that's where we are at. We want to go out to tender. That's what we are asking to do, because although this authority doesn't exist yet, the legislation's not actually been laid in Parliament, and we don't have a mayor. But in order to get the best competitive prices, we need to start the procurement process now. So what this the recommendation is to ask that we approve the commencement of a competitive tender process. It's going to be 1.3 million election address booklets. It's a big task, so we need to get ahead of the game. And if we do get a successful provider out of that, we would also like Cabinet to allow the Executive Director of Strategy and Transformation, in consultation with me as the Cabinet member and the CCARO, who's the returning officer-elect, to award the contract based on the outcome of that process. So are there any questions or comments on this? Councillor Plant.
Yeah, as you alluded to, it's something that we have to do, and it's got to be done in the way that the government have ordered us to do it. I understand my MP is, and I'm from Great Yarmouth, so my MP is not happy with the price and thinks we ought to do it a different way. I really encourage him to go to Westminster and put that case to the people who can make the difference, not ourselves. We can't make any changes to this, it's legislation. So I would encourage him, if he feels as strongly as he's making out, that he goes down there and he makes a case for that to be either done cheaper or in a different sort of way. But as it stands at the moment, we have to follow the law.
Thank you. Councillor James.
Thank you. There are always opinions on this sort of thing, and I'm really mindful of a few conversations that I've had back in Thetford recently, and people have expressed their views. And then I've looked at the electoral roll, and they're not even registered to vote. So this is a call today for people to register their right to vote so that they can enact their democratic right and actually have a say on who will represent us at Norfolk and Suffolk on the combined county authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No. I think one of the government's drives on this is to try and increase turnout, because we know that this type of election, our elections, PCC elections, sometimes the turnout can only be in the sort of 20%-ish around that. It can be very low indeed. Everybody complains if there's not an election, but if you have an election, not everybody can be bothered to turn out and vote, and that's very disappointing for those of us who put ourselves forward to be representatives of the public. So if it does increase the turnout, then maybe it's money well spent, who knows? But you're absolutely right. If the MP for Great Yarmouth wants to change the system, he needs to talk to the government. We can't do anything about it. It would have been nice if he'd asked what the situation was before sounding off on social media. However, I hope he now does understand that we're doing our best with the rules that we've been given, and that we will try and find the most competitive tender price possible to make sure that we comply with the legislation on this point. So the recommendations are on page 140. I've told you what the outline of those is. There's 2 of them. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you very much. So we'll move on to item 11, which is the market position statement. It's on page 161 of your agenda, and I'm going to ask Councillor Alison Thomas to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Leader. The market position statement demonstrates our fulfilment under the CARE Act and was last published actually in 2023. So this is an updated version. This is a live document actually that needs to change as the market changes. So it's not one that we take and put on the shelf. It's actually one that is reviewed as and when the circumstances dictate that it needs to be reviewed. So this evaluates the care market, particularly around sustainability and around our commissioning intentions and the strategic direction of adult social care. It's especially focused on the local needs and capacity of the market to meet the needs of the Norfolk public that we are here to help and support. There has been some provider feedback in regard to the outline of the market position statement this year, and it's been redesigned to make it much easier to navigate and to use. So it combines improved online content with downloadable sector profiles. So this means if somebody wants to look at home care, they can just go into the profile that addresses the position statement around home care, what we as a provider or a commissioner want to see, and what they as a provider need to deliver for us. I think it's fair to say that this is outlining our shift to prevention and is a huge contributor to our transformation programme, which is around providing care and support to people much closer to home, much earlier in their care needs, so that we can help people to remain independent for as long as possible and to remain where they want to. Most of them want to remain at home with care provided for them there. I think that's all I'm going to say, but as I say, it is a live document, so this isn't one that we then just put to one side. It will be reviewed as and when it's deemed necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to endorse what Councillor Thomas has said. This is so important, prevention. It should be at the core of everything we do. And it really is aligning very well, very, very well indeed, with the integrated care system. I mean, adult social care are such an important part of that, working alongside not just the NHS and the ICB locally, but also all the other agencies that we work with. And really that partnership working is central really to everything we do and how we actually succeed for the people that we care for. So I just absolutely endorse this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Jamieson.
Thanks very much. Yes, I'll just add, of course, that like many local authorities, we continue to face significant financial challenges. We invested more than 600 million gross last year in this current financial year in commissioning adult social care from hundreds of businesses that make up Norfolk's care market. However, we should never shy away from the fact that the increasing demand for care, the increasing cost for care, the rising complexity of need within care, and but all in the context of an ageing population. And Norfolk, of course, has one of the oldest age profiles in England, with some 26% of residents aged 65 or over, and this proportion is expected to grow rapidly over the next decade. And so over the medium term, the financial challenge intensifies. The prevention, as outlined by Councillor Thomas, and the partnership working, as outlined by Councillor Weimark, are, I know, core to the new DAS's policies, and I support those policies wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No. Okay, so I think Councillor Jamieson has just said most of what I would say to sum up, which is we have an ageing population, we have more people with complex needs, but it's also about what residents expect from us, and the market is changing because people want different things now. If they have to go into residential care, they expect a far higher standard than perhaps they would have in the past. People want ensuite bathrooms, people want a cafe facility on site. There's all sorts of wonderful things that we can do if people do have to go into residential care, and also for some of our adults with learning difficulties that we look after who want to be more independent. We don't institutionalise people today. We give them independence, and we look after people in the way they want to be looked after. And prevention, as Councillor Weimark has said, is so important. People want to stay at home. If we can keep them well and we can keep them at home, and there's a way of supporting them for as long as possible, then that is absolutely the right thing to do. So all of these things this is all good stuff. It's all contained within this report, and it will continue to change. As you said, it's a living document. So the recommendation on page 162 is to review and approve the Adult Social Care Market Position Statement 2025, noting the key areas and messages summarised within this report, and the full document is supplied as an appendix. So can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you. That's passed. So we'll move on to item 12, and we're now going to talk about exactly one of these schemes, supported living community housing in North Walsham. It starts on page 400. I'll ask Councillor Thomas again to introduce it, please.
Thank you. Earlier on in this meeting, we've heard about some of the challenges that we face in delivering some of our transport infrastructure in Norfolk, but I'm very pleased to say that we have a huge success story here in relation to the supported housing, supported living capital programme, which is progressing at pace. We have a number of projects already on site being constructed at the moment. We've got Norwich, we've got Swaffham, we've got Kings Lynn, and here we now have North Walsham. So I'm very pleased to ask Cabinet to agree to contribute 1.8 million of the £18 million capital funding that has been set aside for supported living to this project, which is in conjunction with Golden Lane Housing, who are being an incredibly strong and helpful partner in helping us to deliver bespoke support, independent living for people with learning disabilities and or physical disabilities and autism. Supported living community housing is comprised of self-contained units of housing, and it's relatively new. It's a new offer for Norfolk, but as I've said, we've got a number of schemes that are already underway. We engage with individuals and their family, and this has shown that there's a strong preference for people to live in individual homes, but in a safe, supported environment. So it's different to shared housing, which has been the sort of traditional model. Whilst that remains suitable for some, supported living and community housing offers greater autonomy and privacy for the individuals, but it supports people to live independently, but with that care and support package wrapped around them. So I'm delighted that we've got yet another project. We are spreading geographically across Norfolk. My spade collection is increasing as we speak. But, you know, I know I'm being flippant, but actually this is really important work and is right at the heart of our transformation. One of my fellow colleagues contacted me about a scheme that's already underway because he'd had an inquiry from a parent of a person, a working age adult with disabilities, and was wondering whether this was the right thing for their child. And I said to him, why wouldn't they want to move into something that has been purpose-built, has a package of care surrounding them, but actually they can live independently? And all of these sites, I'm really pleased to say, are right slap bang in the middle of the communities in which they're being built. So the local amenities are close at hand, but as I say, there's that wonderful support package around them, which is run by Golden Lane Housing. So, and then we get a care provider in once the building is completed. So I fully endorse the proposal that you will find on page, where are we? 401, I think, the recommendation, which is to approve the 1.8 million of capital contribution funding from the existing 18 million supported living capital programme to Golden Lane Housing to support the development and secure the nomination rights for 6 apartments and 3 bungalows in a new supported living community housing scheme for adults with care and support needs in North Walsham, North Norfolk, and to delegate the responsibility to the Director of Strategic Commissioning to complete the relevant contracts with Golden Lane Housing. And Chris is here should there be any technical questions that anyone has, but I would hope that you will all endorse this and agree what a wonderful project it will be.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Councillor James.
Thank you. I'd just like to speak in support of this, really. It is fantastic and demonstrates Norfolk County Council's commitment to its residents in meeting the needs of its communities in an agile way. And I think this is absolutely super. And I look forward to the next few spades in the collection.
Thank you. Councillor Weinmark.
Thank you, Leader. I too would like to endorse this. I mean, there's many facets of this which I think are fantastic, actually. I mean, a lot of the people that will be supported would otherwise be, as you say, in the residential care, which is absolutely inappropriate, and this is far more appropriate for them. But I think there's 2 words in here, in the report here. It talk about independence and dignity. And I think that really underlines what we're doing here, is giving people independence and dignity to live in their own home, and that's absolutely the right thing to do. So I'd totally endorse it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carpenter.
Well, I will echo my colleagues' comments, but for me personally, it does fill me with huge confidence for the future for adult social services. And also the fact that the report is just an incredibly comprehensive report, and it covers so many facets of it. But I think if I was the parent of a child going into, or an older adult child, then for me, one of the things would be that I would want that child, my child, whoever old they are, to feel safe. And I think this is one of the most important things. So I wholeheartedly support it, and Alison's Spade collection will probably need to move elsewhere, somewhere rather than in home. So yeah, I fully support it, and the officers work in it. As I say, it does fill me with great confidence for the future for adults. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jemison.
Thank you. I just would want to add that from a financial perspective, this fits in extremely well. It's a classic invest to save scheme. It enables us to shift from high care cost to delivering care in a place where people want to be in housing with care. There's around £250,000 annual saving that comes on the back of this 1.8 million investment. That investment, just to assure Cabinet colleagues, the NCC's interest is protected because it will be secured through a legal charge on the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I think it's always a worry for parents who have a child with learning difficulties. What's going to happen to their child when they may no longer be able to look after them? So schemes like this are essential to make sure that those children, when they become adults, can actually live independently, and that takes the worry off of those parents as well. So I know it's not suitable for everyone, but it's suitable for a lot of people, and it can be adapted to some of those particular cases. And so it doesn't just help the person who's living there, it also helps their immediate family, who don't have to worry quite so much about them, knowing that they're really well supported. So these are excellent schemes. This is definitely the way forward. And of course, we are happy to contribute towards this to make this happen. It helps us, as Councillor Jamieson has said. But we're able to do this because we are a very large authority, and we do have the capacity to do it. We can spread the costs across the county. We can also meet the need in specific areas where it's needed. And under a single county unitary, we will be able to continue to do that. If you start splitting the county up, I wonder what will happen to schemes like this, whether some of those smaller unitaries would be able to afford to do this. And that's a great worry for the future. People often point to councils like us, they say you have massive debt. Well, we borrow to invest. We have debts because we build stuff. It's not just homes like this, it's also roads and it's schools. And we do it because it's what our residents expect from us. And we do it on a long-term basis, and we do it with the least possible risk, which Harvey also keeps a beady eye on us to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So if we didn't have a debt, we wouldn't be building anything. So councils with no debt do nothing, is the way that I look at it. We are very prudent in what we do. And this is an excellent example of why we are investing for the future of the residents of our county. So the recommendation is on page 401. Councillor Thomas has already read it out to you. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item 13, which is the Fostering Annual Report. It's on page 417 of the agenda, and I'm going to ask Councillor Penny Carpenter to introduce it, please.
Thank you, Leader. This annual report is for Norfolk's Fostering Service 24 to 25. This service has made significant progress, innovation and strategic development in the face of national challenges. We fulfil statutory responsibilities and under the Fostering Service Regulations 2011 and National Minimum Standards 2011. This report is a review of the service performance, compliance and quality of care provided to children in the care of our foster families. One of the highlights is, despite the national picture, Norfolk was the only local authority in the East of England region to achieve a net increase in fostering households, reversing a 4-year trend of net losses, which is a reflection on the team's target recruitment, enhanced support and the renewing of our commitment to co-production with foster carers. Our team has successfully recruited 11 more fostering households, improved conversion rates within the expansion of therapeutic support, growth of the Mockingbird programme with 2 support hubs supporting 24 families, which is peer-led model, which offers emotional and practical support, which also helps to reduce isolation, prevents burnout and improve children's stability, plus a digital transformation programme. There is a sharp focus on addressing the ageing carer workforce, which is reflected in the risk implications, including within your papers. Norfolk County Council were very proud to be recognised as a fostering-friendly employer, and we are also the lead pathfinder for our regional recruitment hub, Foster East, from its launch in May 2024. We continue to champion best practices across 11 authorities. We outline our financial modelling regarding long-term fostering placements, which has the potential to generate cost avoidance of around £252,000 when compared to residential care costs. We also cover our placement stability, sufficiency and placement disruptions, and the impact of the embedded supporting resilience service, the therapeutic fostering service, the clinical psychologist and fostering clinicians. The voice of the child, which has shaped placement planning and training and development of support offers, and those of us who sit on the corporate parenting board have heard loud and clear the voices of our children, which I can't help to admire their confidence and their strong views on how we are performing. We also explain our digital tools and transformation, which has impacted on the service from recruitment to improved accessibility for foster carers. Again, another comprehensive report, and I thank officers who have co-produced this for you today, plus the panel members and the children. And there are 2 recommendations on page 418, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this report? Councillor James.
Thank you. I was lucky enough before this report to sit on the Fostering Recruitment and Retention Steering Group, and it is because of that cross department working and collaboration that we see these results today. And I'm really pleased that actually we don't need that steering group anymore. We've moved into the operational, we've got the right people around the table, and we continue to innovate and see how we can do better. So I'm really pleased to see this report come forward. There's been a lot of hard work going on in the background, certainly from officers, to get it to this point, and I know they're up for the challenge of continuing that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. I'd like to endorse this report, but I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank all of those people across Norfolk who provide a foster home for a Norfolk child. I don't think we can underestimate the huge value of the work that those people do, supporting some of our most vulnerable children at a time when they really need it. And I just wanted to acknowledge their contribution to ensuring that the County Council is able to fulfil its duties in looking after children who are most vulnerable and for whatever reason are not able to remain with their birth families. So I just wanted to say thank you to them. And I also wanted to just say, I'm sure Councillor Carpenter would agree with me, there is a book programme going at Waterstones at the moment for, you can buy a book for a child in care. I've done this regularly every year, and I'm sure many other members have done so too. The books are already outlined for you, so you can choose which age range you want to. They know roughly what the young people would like, and it's certainly a very nice way of giving a gift to someone who you've never met, but who you will raise a smile on Christmas Day.
Councillor Waymark. Councillor Carpenter, your microphone's still on, by the way. Councillor Waymark.
Thank you, Leader. As a social worker and a previous foster carer, I absolutely endorse this report. I think it's so important, and you make such a difference as a foster carer to the children that you have in your home. That's so important. But actually, I just want to highlight how this impacts upon you as a foster carer. I mean, it really enriches your life. I would recommend to anybody to, consider being a foster carer if you hadn't before, because it really is something which is quite enriching for a family, and in turn enriching for that child who's with you. So I just want to say, let's keep on doing the good work and looking after our young people as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? No. Okay. Well, it's fantastic, isn't it? A net increase in foster carers bucking the trend. Congratulations, Sarah. Congratulations to you and your team. And thank you once again to all of those foster carers who are out there, the ones who've been stalwarts, been with us for many years, and the new ones who've just come into the system. That's great. We all know children are better off in a family environment. If we can get them into a family environment rather than being in a sort of care facility, it's much better to have loving people around you. And encourage everyone, get down to Waterstones, buy a book. It's Christmas time. Let's put a smile on a lot of children's faces. They're Norfolk's children, and we need to look after them. So thank you for raising that, Councillor Thomas. The recommendations are on page 418, and it's that we take a note of fostering service performance for 24-25 and comment on the identified priorities for 25-26. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. So item 14 is the adoption annual report 2024-25. It starts on page 440, and again, Councillor Penny Carpenter will introduce it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. This is the Adoption and Kinship Annual Report 2024 to 2025. The adoption report found in Appendix A within your papers today, and we have a statutory duty to provide and continuously improve this specialist area. We also work closely with our regional partners under the Adoption England Strategy 24-27, which focuses on timely placements, supporting children's well-being and identity, and central is the voice of the child, and adoptive and birth parents, all of which shape our service delivery. Our Adopt East Regional Alliance is made up of ourselves here in Norfolk, the Adoption Plus, Luton, Barnardo's, Bedford Borough Council, Southend-on-Sea City Council, Essex County Council, Suffolk County Council, Hertfordshire and Thurrock. Our service has made significant progress in recruitment, assessment and support with improved conversion rates, increased diversity amongst adopters and reduced waiting times. We operate 5 dedicated teams: recruitment, family finding, adoption and kinship support. So back to the report, which outlines statutory responsibilities, progress and alignment with Adoption England strategy, which are 5 objectives to include timely placement of children in permanent nurturing homes, supporting children's wellbeing and identity, involving children and adoptive birth parents in shaping services, and improving outcomes through collaboration and high-quality support. Our proposals are to building on recent improvement. We will continue streamlining our recruitment and assessment processes, enhancing support for diverse adopter groups, expanding our peer support and community hubs, embedding new tools for maintaining relationships and supporting identity work. We evidence our conversation rates from inquiry to application improvements, and there is a national shortage of adopters, but here in Norfolk we have exceeded our Adopt East recruitment target. You will see from our workforce costs, plus our risk implications and assessments, which cover national shortages of adopters, financial pressure, potential delays and placement disruption and ongoing monitoring. Within the main body of the report, we cover adopters recruitment, our public campaigns, matching the service ongoing efforts to attract individuals and couples from diverse backgrounds, which highlights our service proactive stance in equality, diversity and inclusion. In essence, Norfolk Adoption Service ability to convert more inquiries into approved adopters, diversify its adoption base and reduce waiting times for placements, places our service, which is a leader in best practice within the Adopt East Alliance. We also have another challenge here in Norfolk. We have a large number of children who have an adoption plan, and children were matched down from 70 the previous year, which bears out what we have already identified, that there is a national shortage of adopters. I have only highlighted a small sample of information contained in the report, which comes with 4 recommendations on page 441. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this report? Councillor Carpenter, your microphone's on still. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. I'd like to endorse this report and Councillor Carpenter's comments. I've served on the adoption panel for many years, although I stepped down earlier on this year. And there have been some significant changes with the membership of the panel, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank some of our independent members who are no longer serving on the panel, but have given many years of dedicated service to that crucial matching process, placing a child with adoptive parents, but also the approval of adoptive parents. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, because it's not mentioned in this report, because this report is from looking at last year, and the changes I'm referring to have happened this year. But I couldn't let this report go by without acknowledging that. But also, again, in the same way that I acknowledged all the foster carers that are out there, I wanted to acknowledge all the people that come forward to adopt children. It's not an easy task, and it's really important that, as a local authority, we provide as much help and support to them throughout the adoptive journey with their child, because things can change over time, and a child that's initially settled may have problems at transition from primary school to high school or through their teenage years. So it isn't just a case of we place a child with a family and once the adoption order is granted, we just step away. There is help and support out there, and I would say to any adoptive family in Norfolk, if you're struggling, please reach out to the authority and ask for help and support before it gets too challenging. But I just wanted to, again, wish all of those families a very happy Christmas.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No, I'd like to thank you, Councillor Thomas, as well. I know that you spent many years sitting on that panel. It's a difficult job. It's a very important job and incredibly time-consuming. When you were telling me about the amount of paperwork that you have to go through. So anyone who sits on the adoption panel or on the fostering panel as well, I take my hat off to you and I thank you very much for your dedication, because without you we wouldn't be able to place these children, and it's such an important role for this authority. One of my best friends was adopted, and she grew up in a very warm and loving environment, which was great for her and great for her parents as well. And I know there are some children out there who have some quite significant challenges, so it's very essential that we as an authority support those adopting parents to make sure that those placements are successful, and that we help them every step of the way. And we also recognise that modern families can look quite different to families the way that we knew them in the past. They can be very diverse. We have very many different types of families now, and we are moving with the times, and we are recognising that, and recognising that the essential thing is that a child grows up in a warm and loving environment, and that can be whatever environment that is, as long as it's warm and loving and that child is placed in the right place. And that's why the adoption panel is so important. So very important. So I thank you for all your comments. The recommendations are on page 441. We are asked to note and give feedback on the continued prioritisation of timely and stable placements for children. We're asked to note and give feedback on the maintenance and expansion of inclusive recruitment and assessment practices. To note and give feedback on the strengthening of post-adoption support and peer networks, as we've discussed, and on the monitoring and addressing of national and local changes to adopter recruitment. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we'll move on then to item 15, which is the work of Norfolk Children's Safeguarding Partnership in 2024-25, and I have a very lovely shiny booklet here. It's in pink, which matches my jacket. Of course, it's been done on purpose. It starts on page 463 of your agenda, and I'll ask Councillor Penny Carpenter to introduce it, please.
Thank you, Leader. Safeguarding is everyone's responsibility, and it's a marker of how successful or not we are as a society protecting those children or adults at risk of harm or abuse. This report and appendix covers the work of the partnership between the 1st of April 24 and the 31st of March 2025. This is not just about our role as Norfolk County Council and the part we play, but that of our partners, which is Norfolk Constabulary and the Integrated Care Board. We hold joint responsibility for the effectiveness of the partnership, and any report like this one in front of you today will always reflect the highs and the lows and the challenges. We are required to produce and publish the findings of the partnership at least once in every 12-month period. And there are two versions of the report published, one being specifically produced for children, we all have a copy here today, and the other one, the Department of Education gets to see this. One of our commitments is to prioritise prevention through early help, learning from the child safeguarding practice reviews and placing a strong emphasis in locality working, clear thresholds for intervention, which increases the understanding and tackle inequalities in communities, providing support for those who are most in need, and addresses wider factors that impact on housing, well-being and crime. Joined up working used to be a buzzword I was familiar with, or blue sky thinking, in my past profession. However, joined up working, good professional relationships, clear communications between all agencies underpins extremely effective safeguarding as demonstrated by the board. We discuss our joint targeted area inspection and our statutory duty to undertake rapid reviews and safeguarding practice reviews, which demonstrates not only that the board hold themselves to account and learning from the cases, but also the willingness to be transparent and explore opportunities to improve. You will also see the voice of the child and their experiences, and I will, if I may, read out a couple of lines from the children, what their views are. They say, Respect our stories and what we choose to share. Understand differences and don't make assumptions. We all have different starting points and experiences. Very powerful, I have to say. Then, with the book you've got in front of you today, which is the pink-coloured book, there's some data in there, which is an average week taken from national returns and local systems, using the most recent data available and using either the most recent snapshot figure or an average figure for the last month. And I feel duty-bound to read this particular item out from the book because it just shows the extent and the range of safeguarding here in Norfolk. So each week in Norfolk, around 148 babies are born. There are around 189,000 children and young people aged between 0 and 19, with around 125,000 attending schools. With the context of this, each week there are around, within the health services, 1,030 A&E attendances for under 18s, 370 for under 4s, 17 acute hospital admissions caused by injuries for under 15s, 3 acute admissions for mental health problems, and 2 for substance abuse. The police, 8 children are screened for exploitation by the police. 99 police investigations are started where domestic abuse is suspected and there is a child present. And 10 children and young people are stopped and searched, and around 19 are arrested. Norfolk County Council, around 950 contacts are made with the Children's Advice and Duty Service, around 265 from schools and education services, and around 188 from the police, 160 from members of the public, and 115 from health services. Where contacts suggest where there may be risk to the safety or well-being of a child, partners work together to agree the best course of action through formal safeguarding routes, and each week this means around 65 referrals prompt a social work assessment, and around 47 prompt a multi-agency strategy discussion. 10 children from start a child protection plan, including around 2 who will have had a previous CPP, which is the child protection plan. In addition, around 7 children will become looked after each week, with a similar number ceasing to be looked after. And 2 children and young people enter the youth justice system for the first time. All of this means that at any one time in Norfolk, there are around 440 children and young people with a child protection plan, 1,115 children looked after, and 145 children and young people receiving youth justice service interventions. I feel that I can say Norfolk Safeguarding Children's Partnership is extremely strong, and together with their mission, I would also like to thank all staff, partners and children who have contributed to this report. And the recommendations, which there are 2, can be found on page 464, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody got any comments on this report? Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to say how important safeguarding is. I think we all know that, but particularly with children, they are so vulnerable. This report came to the Health and Wellbeing Board and was very well received. I also had conversations with people within the ICB about the partnership working, and it's very, very positive on that. As Councillor Carpenter says, unfortunately, we do have a number of children on a regular basis who come into our system who need support. And, you know, and I've been one of the people assessing it in the past. And it's not an easy job, really. I just want to highlight that, how difficult this is. People might say, oh, it's a lovely pink report, but it's not a pink and fluffy area. It's actually quite a difficult area to work in. And the people within it, you know, I take my hat off to them. They continue to do that day in, day out. I just wanted to read a bit from the report, actually. It's from Chris Robson, the lead independent scrutineer. And he says here, so I remain confident that we could and should be used as a model of good practice. The Norfolk Safeguarding Children's Partnership is, in my view, exceptional in the work it does and has a real drive to seek continuous improvement. And I'd like to endorse that. And I think it's so important that we actually understand that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? No? Yes, and that information that Councillor Carpenter read out is on page 17. It's all very clear, and this booklet is very easy to read. It's been exceptional piece of work, I have to say, and very easy for our children to be able to read. So it's great, and there's even some puzzles and quizzes in the back. So although it's an incredibly difficult area, we are doing our absolute best, and we are including those children in actually writing things like that, because their voice needs to be heard, and that's why we're able to quote what they are saying in our reports, in the heavy-duty version and in the slightly lighter weight ones. I do recommend this to anyone if they want to get the basic facts and figures. It's all here for you. And the worry is, of course, that we do this work in conjunction with our health colleagues and with the police. And if we get a breakup of this council into different unitary authorities, there is a risk with new artificial boundaries that some children may fall through the cracks. We can't afford to put this excellent work at risk. We need to keep the county together so that we can continue to do this good work into the future. So the recommendations are on page 464, and that is to endorse and comment on the contents of the NSCP annual report 24-25, and to promote their work to the public via social media, enabling more people to see it, helping to give important safeguarding messages to Norfolk children, families and communities. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item 16, which is the Redundancy Support Service Pilot. It starts on page 549, and Councillor Fabian Eagle will introduce it, please.
Hello, thank you, Chair. I can't say I'm excited to be able to actually present this, and it's not something that any of us perhaps foresaw the need to 18 months ago. But we have recognised there is a gap in the services provided by local government and national government, that any firm that makes redundancies of less than 20 does not receive the support from DWP through their rapid response service or Job Centre Plus. So we have come up with a formulation through the County Council that will actually offer support to the employees and the employer if they inform us and let us know below that size. And actually 88% of Norfolk's businesses employ less than 9 employees. So it is a large area that we need to support. But the sad state of the facts at the moment is, according to the Office of National Statistics, employment rates are falling dramatically. And just to give you a figure, it collapsed dramatically between April and May this year, with dropping a further 25,000 down. And if that is to continue on that trend, we could be looking at over 300,000 job losses across the country. It is not good, and this has been brought on by the National Insurance and also a general malaise and lack of confidence now, not just consumers but businesses as well. All these costs have added up, and we are looking at and predicting on those facts that Norfolk could be looking at anywhere between 2,700 and 15,000 job losses over the next couple of years, although we think 15,000 is high, but certainly between 2,700 and 6,000. We have a responsibility to make sure that we can help those people find jobs, and also those employers making those awful decisions about making people redundant know there is services provided. And that is why we have set up this scheme to actually fill that gap and make sure it's there. And also we want to make sure that those people there can find a job where there is one as quickly as possible and get them the right job for their skill set as well. So, like I said, very sadly I have to bring this to Cabinet, but I do hope you will all accept the recommendations.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Councillor James.
As probably many of you know, for, crikey, 20 odd years, I ran as a freelance bookkeeper and also ran payroll. I'm privileged enough to still be a fellow of the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers, and I'm actually proud to say that I am Jane from Accounts, and I have the qualifications that back it up. In the same way, Councillor Eagle does not welcome this but recognises it, I recognise this too, and I know it will make a considerable difference to those small business owners out there in Norfolk. Running a business is difficult. It's really, really hard, and you build a team around you of advisors and that kind of thing. But when it comes to this side, as Councillor Eagles rightly highlighted, those people that you would normally go to go help don't deal with the smaller side of things. So this is an incredibly important and sadly needed service, and I welcome the fact that we have been forward thinking enough to recognise that Norfolk businesses require our support, not just in the good times, but also in the bad. And I would urge everybody this year to remind yourselves that whilst there are other businesses out there, our high streets do matter, and Norfolk businesses are for life, not just for Christmas.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions? No, it's a sad state of affairs when we actually have to do this. And this is a result of the decisions that are being made by our government. People should have the confidence to employ people. Our small and medium-sized enterprises, we want them to grow and develop and employ people. That's where prosperity comes from. It's from growing the cake to be a bigger cake so everybody gets a bigger slice rather than shrinking the amount that everyone gets. I was very disappointed that the recent budget is a disincentive again. It's the second time. Rachel Reeves has doubled down on small businesses. It's absolutely the wrong thing to do. And if the Office of Budget Responsibility are right in that she did have the headroom not to do this and misled the public and chose to do it anyway, then I think there is a serious question over her future. Should she resign? I think there have been many calls for her to do that, and I don't think that story is over yet. And if she did mislead Parliament and the public, then she should go, because I wouldn't trust her, and I don't think many of our small business would either. But at least we as a council are doing the best we possibly can to support those businesses out there, and we're looking after our high streets as well. We have received in Loddon our Christmas bauble, which you put your head through and have your picture taken, so we'll be taking that around our town. I know many others are going to get something similar. It's a little bit of an incentive to get people out and around the shops, isn't it? And it's great, and all these little things that we do are helping our businesses. So this is just another example of it, but we shouldn't be having to do this. We really shouldn't. Councillor Planton, you wanted to ask a question or comment?
No, not asking a question. I suppose I ought to declare an interest. I'm a small business, but those small businesses that are under £12,000 rates will now, from my understanding, nothing was said in the budget about it, but from next April, they will be paying business rates on small shops in town centres and in small villages and in the tourism industry, which is seasonal, and that is going to create a lot of losses in business and jobs. Also, the VAT base hasn't raised either. Then they're even talking about dropping it down to 50,000 or 30,000, which means that even small businesses would then be charging VAT on everything that they serve, and therefore the prices will all go up by 20% because that's how much the government will be taking from your business as a tax. So there's the accumulation and the cumulative effect of everything that's happening on small businesses is going to create a huge void. And you've got to remember that these people are employing people and paying taxes. If they go, what's going to fill their space? What's going to be there instead? Don't know.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Well, we all know what this country needs. It needs a government who have fiscal responsibility and will grow the economy. And there is only one party that will do that. I'm not going to mention them by name, but we all know who they are. Right, so the recommendations are on page 464. No, that's the wrong one. The recommendations are on 550. The Cabinet is asked to approve the establishment of the Norfolk Redundancy Support Service. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item 17, which is the Finance Monitoring Report 2025-26, P7. October 2025, starts on page 557 of the agenda, and Councillor Jamieson will introduce it, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. So period 7 is a case of steady as she goes. There's an overspend for the end of the year now forecast to be 2.035 million. That's down again on period 6 and, of course, from the high of over 11 million after period 3. As noted in paragraph 2.74, the Children's Services, Children's Services have further reduced their overspend to 6.9 million from 7.2 million last month via the ongoing delivery of their best value plan, especially around packages of care. With adult social care being a demand-led service, as well noted in paragraph 2.9, the budget to provide it always operates under a certain degree of uncertainty, and we therefore look at both children's and adults' forecasts through the lens of at risk. In order to maintain a robust grip, we are continuing with many of the enhanced financial controls that we put in place during 24-25. Meanwhile, Highways and Waste continue to report underspends, largely due to slightly lower than anticipated waste volumes and increased income from fees and charges, whilst Finance have net savings as previously reported. I'll cover the implications for Norfolk in this budget speech, such as they were, in the next item. But the policy statement which preceded it marks the start of the settlement process, which, for the first time in a decade, is a multi-year settlement covering the next 3 financial years through to March 2029. But that was pretty much the end of the good news. The total distributable quantum of funding remains unknown, which hinders modelling of indicative figures, and as a consequence, we still wait for the provisional local government finance settlement, which will come mid or probably late December, and that will confirm local authority funding levels. But the policy statement has placed great emphasis on deprivation targeted funding, and the £600 million recovery grant, which was previously announced as a one-off and of which, just to make it clear, Norfolk gets 0 for 25-26, now remains in place throughout the multi-year settlement, allegedly targeting low tax base on high deprivation authorities, despite the conclusion in June of the Fair Funding Review 2.0. So, like most Shire County authorities, Norfolk County Council will not receive any recovery grant allocation, and this is a huge and politically inspired wrench of funding from rural to metropolitan areas. A further key change from the previous consultation is that remoteness has been removed from all formula area cost adjustments except for adult social care. This will have a significant negative effect on Norfolk, although it is mitigated in part by the home-to-school transport cap increasing from 20 to 50 miles. Councils have a legal duty to provide home-to-school transport for children with SEND, and there is no cap distance in the legislation. The originally proposed cap of 20 miles was a particular concern for large rural counties and unitaries like ours. So the continuation of the recovery grant and the removal of remoteness will adversely impact on Norfolk's funding allocations and are hard to justify in the context of the outcomes of the Fair Funding Review. We will, of course, say as much when responding to the settlement consultation when it is published in due course to highlight these concerns. Turning to Treasury management, the strategy for 50 million new borrowing in 25-26 to fund capital expenditure remains, but 14 million new borrowing to support capital loans to third parties and 13 million carried forward from the prior year. The cash flow takes into account the planned borrowing and projects the current capital forecasts have through the year and it results in closing cash balances of approximately 20.153 million. The downward trend in the forecast takes account of a 48 million increase in unfunded DSG deficit and the Council's continued funding of SEND provision in excess of the grant funding provided in 25-26. And the fact that there is no resolution yet to historic balances held under the statutory override until spring, is hardly encouraging. But as I'll describe in the next item, it potentially delays resolving funding of our safety valve programme, including the payment by the DFE of some 16 million, which they had previously agreed. As the Council's cash reserves continue to be depleted due to this, as well as to overspends in demand-led budgets, additional borrowing will be needed to close the gap and address liquidity constraints. However, this will incur additional costs of borrowing that will need to be managed within the constraints of the revenue budget, and this will be taken into account in the budget and treasury strategy for 26-27. The Council has successfully secured significant funding, 108.227 million increase in Department of Transport funding for the local transport grant, which reflects the full local transport grant that Norfolk will receive over the next 4 financial years. Following further discussions with the Department of Transport, the revised Kings Lynn STARS scheme no longer requires outlined business case, as a DFT contribution will be under 20 million. Instead, a project adjustment request will be submitted in December 2025, with a decision expected early in 26. The scheme remains broadly unchanged from the July 25 Cabinet approval, though costs have risen by 1.2 million to 20.81 million due to conservation material requirement. To maximise levelling up fund support, some 0.12 million of local transport plan funding will be allocated, which enables an additional 1.08 billion from levelling up funding to come to us, bringing its total to 18.73 million. Importantly, there is no liability to Norfolk County Council for this. There are 2 recommendations in the paper relating to business rates pooling. Firstly, to note the performance of the business rates pool in 24-25, which has retained some 8.968 million for the county as a whole, of which 3.986 million has supported the county council's budget, along with an additional 270,000 distribution from pool interest. And secondly, the paper provides an update on the opportunity to form a business rates pool for 26-27. It's in paragraph 4.3 on page 601. There will be substantial changes to the business rate system in 26-27, such that the benefits of pooling have been largely eliminated, along with the full system reset. This has become clearer since the publication of this monitoring report, and as a result, recognising the increased risk against limited potential reward, and following extensive consideration at leaders' meetings and at Chief Executive and Chief Financial Officer level, I can update the Cabinet that Norfolk authorities have collectively decided not to form a pool in 2026-27. And finally, the paper recommends a director appointment in relation to Alliance North Limited, representing the Cabinet fulfilling its responsibilities as shareholder in line with financial regulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, thank you, Leader. And thank you, Councillor Jameson, for your, as ever, brilliant overview of where we are. I just wanted to just highlight an issue that we have in children's, or what we have other issues, but the home to school transport budget. It doesn't help us when we were promised 2 new schools to be built. And for Great Yarmouth, where I live, we are transporting around about 170 children from Great Yarmouth. Now, if that school, if permission for the schools and the money for the schools to be built, then we wouldn't perhaps be transporting 170 children from Great Yarmouth all over Norfolk to attend a school. So it does have an impact. However much, you know, we ask government, we write to government to say, where are you going to be on this? And we're still waiting. And all the time we're still waiting, we're still transporting children. My view is, my personal view has been the same since 2017, that children should be within their locality, with their peers and with their families, rather than be transported to the four corners of the county. So of course, because of that, it does impact, and we are a demand-led service. So thank you for your overview. I just wanted to highlight one of the issues that we are facing in children's. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? No, well, thank you for that. I mean, we've for many years asked for a 3-year settlement, and we're now being told we're going to get one, which is great. But if there isn't enough money in the system for 3 years, or it doesn't take into account inflation and price rises, inflation, or any other issues that we may come across within those 3 years, then it's going to be even worse, isn't it? Things are going to be worse than they currently are. And so we're bracing ourselves. So we're waiting to see what the outcome is, and we will get it as a Christmas present probably on Christmas Eve, because although this government said they would try and get us the outcome of our settlement early this year, it's not going to happen. Still not going to happen until Christmas Eve, and then we spend the next few weeks firefighting to see if there's anything else that they can give us, because of the pressure it then puts on our budgets. So I'm not particularly hopeful about it. I hope to be pleasantly surprised, but I've not been pleasantly surprised about anything else that's come out. The Fair Funding Review is another example of that. We anticipate the moving of money from rural counties like ourselves to more urban areas, probably in the north and in London, because those councils naturally are fighting their corner. So it's not a fair funding review, is it? It's an unfair funding review. And the pooling of business rates, we've done that for many years, and it's been a benefit to all councils in this county. All the districts have been on board with that. And this year, next year, there's no point, because they've changed the formula so much that there's now quite a risk element to it, and we'll get virtually nothing out of it. So once again, the government are sucking money out of every pocket that they can find where we might have actually had some benefit in the past. And I say to those parties who think there's fat in the system, that can come sweeping into councils and make lots of amazing changes. The only way you're going to make any changes is by shutting services down. And even if you were to shut all our libraries and our museums overnight, you'd only pay for 13 days of adult social care. So that is not a solution. There is no fat in the system. We are managing this budget, and I'd like to thank all department heads for helping us to keep this budget under control, because that's the only way that this council is going to be able to move forward, is by doing what we've always done, by running our services in the most efficient and effective manner possible. So thank you, Councillor Jamieson, for that very comprehensive roundup. The recommendations are on page 557 and 558. There are 12 of them. I'm not going to read them out. You'll be glad to hear. So can I ask for all those in favour to please show?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we move on to item 18, the Mid-Year Treasury Management Monitoring Report 25-26 on page 604. Councillor Jamieson.
Thank you, Chair. To remind colleagues, the Mid-Year Treasury Management Report, the aim of that is to ensure that we are on track to deliver what we set out to full council that we would, in that we maintain cash, borrowing and investment levels within the prudential indicators outlined by the Treasury Management Strategy paper for 25-26, thus ensuring compliance with the Treasury Management Code and its principles of security, liquidity and yield. We are still within the statutory limits set for the financial year and are forecast to be so at the year end. Council borrowed 25 million over the first 6 months of the financial year, although I should say that subsequent to the period, we borrowed a further 15 million from the National Wealth Fund to fund the final stages of Great Yarmouth's operation and maintenance facility. So while included in our capital programme, this borrowing will, just like the borrowing undertaken on behalf of the Greater Norwich Growth Board, be repaid out of local contributions and does not impact on the Council's debt position in the long term. Last Wednesday's budget had little in it that will affect us immediately. The SEND announcements, for example, related to the 28-29 financial year, and mansion tax is a later addition as well. But as always, we will need to wait until the detail of the provisional settlement to understand how most of these will impact on us locally. But the 4.1% increase in the minimum wage will negatively affect us and more particularly our providers. The business rates changes, as noted, will likely impact on districts, while new visitors levy will go to the mayor and not to the councils. A cash squeeze due in the main to the dedicated schools grant and an unfunded high needs block position means that it is anticipated that the council's cash position by year end will require additional borrowing of 37 million. Now, for the avoidance of doubt, local authorities are not borrowing directly to fund this government-induced SEND overspend, but they, including Norfolk County Council, are using cash balances that would otherwise be used to fund capital projects, thus necessitating the need to borrow earlier than we otherwise should. And this is not sustainable. While it was potentially good news from a local authority perspective that government will absorb future SEND costs from 28-29 within the RDEL, nothing was said about the historic DSG deficits, which are officially forecast to hit some 14 billion by 2028 across the country. The CCN has estimated that it could reach 18 billion by that time. Details on this support will come, we are told, in the local government finance settlement, and with the white paper on SEND reform is due in early 26. However, historic balances held off balance sheet since November 2020 in tacit recognition that this is a problem of central, not local governments making, remain a systemic risk and must be absorbed centrally. It is to be hoped that following the delay in the release of the government's white paper on SEND, we will still receive the £16 million from the Department for Education as part of the already agreed government contribution under the Safety Valve Agreement to help resolve this issue. But much needed clarity on this is vital for the vast majority of local authorities if government are to avoid an existential crisis within the sector. Thank you.
Comments or questions on this report? No? Can't see any. It's worrying, isn't it? The SEND issue is a shift and hide, isn't it, from 2028-29. Well, this council won't exist in 2028 because we will be replaced by unitaries by then, but the problem will still exist and the debt will still exist as far as we are aware, and will have to be split between however many unitaries we have. So the Treasury and the government haven't said what they're going to do about historic debt. And we're still servicing that. We've got to keep paying for that. It's not of our making. It's not our fault, but it is our problem. And we're waiting for those SEND reforms, but it seems quite obvious to me that this government are only about increasing welfare spending. It seems to just go up and up, so I'm not holding out too much hope that there won't still be more pressure, if not added pressure, on councils such as ourselves when we eventually do see those SEND reforms. I'm not convinced they're actually going to help us at all. So we can only wait around again to see what happens. The recommendation is on page 604. So Cabinet are asked to endorse and recommend to County Council the mid-year Treasury Management Monitoring Report 2025-26. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we're now on to item 19, which is the, not quite the final one, but nearly the final one, which is disposal, acquisition and exploitation of property. Starts on page 646 of the agenda. I'm going to ask Councillor Jane James to introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. So periodically we bring a paper to Cabinet to have a look at what we're up to on one of our largest asset side of things, our properties. We actively manage our property portfolio, and that's all done in accordance with the asset management framework. Ultimately, what do we do with our buildings and land? So either we have direct service delivery, it supports policy objectives, we hold it for admin purposes, there's a few of those, or to generate income, and we acquire and dispose as a reaction to the changing service requirements that this council has. When a service looks at their property and goes, we don't have a need for it, put in really simple terms, we all get round a table and we go, well, we don't need it, do you need it? What can we do with this? How can we deliver services? Is there anything else that this can be used for? And occasionally it comes up that we go, actually, those buildings, we can't see a future for at the moment. So, as the public would expect us to, we're not going to sit and just have mothball buildings. How do we use it for the benefit of the residents of Norfolk? And sometimes that's disposal. So part of the process is that I come to you guys today and ask you to agree with me that some of these buildings and land are surplus to the council's requirements so that we can explore other options. And I'm here today to advise you that I've got 3 buildings that we don't have any further use of as an organisation, and 2 pieces of land. And I'm really pleased that one of those pieces of land, and I'm going to pull it out actually, it's the former 10 Mile Bank Riverside Academy playing field. The academy has been closed by the academy organisation, and I'm really pleased that locally, proactively, that parish council have reached out to us and gone, that playing field's really important to our community, whether it's young people playing, dog walkers, whatever. Can we look at taking it on? So as part of the recommendations to you today on page 647, and just going over onto 648, we will be asking the parish council, if in the first instance, if they'd like to take that on. And obviously, if that can't be agreed within 12 months, because we appreciate these things take time, obviously we'll then look at the open market. But in addition, we have 1 other piece of land and 3 other buildings that I'd like your permission to declare surplus, please.
Thank you. Comments or questions on this paper? Now, we are aware that there has been a business case put forward quite late in the process for one of the schools that we are looking to declare surplus. It's something we haven't had a chance to properly assess yet, but if we do want to assess this properly and we do want to look at this and see if this is actually something that can be achieved, then we do still need to declare this property surplus in the first place, because it has to be something that we no longer wish to hold as a county council, but then we can look at a future use for it. So this is the County Form Primary School. And we will be looking to progress this with this particular business case that has come forwards and see if it's something that can be put into place. So that is something that has come forward since the papers have been published. So I just wanted everyone to be aware that we do know that this is happening. This is going on behind the scenes. And with any of our properties, and we dispose of some, we acquire some, if we can find another use for it and it's a sensible use, or we can find someone who will take this on and use it for the proper use, then that's right. But we are dealing with taxpayers' money and taxpayers' assets, and so this has to be advantageous to us as well, because we are keepers of the public purse. So with that in mind, we do have 5 items on here for disposal. And the Cabinet is asked if they will formally declare those surplus. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show? Thank you very much, and we will continue to progress that particular item after this meeting. Thank you. So item 20 then is reports of Cabinet member and officer delegated decisions made since the last Cabinet meeting. There are 2 on there, one that's at West Runton and the other one, a materials recovery facility contract extension. So if we just note those, please. That's fine. And then the next meeting will be on Monday the 5th of January 2025 here at 10 a.m. in the Council Chamber, and we'll be wishing everybody a Happy New Year at that point. So anyway, there we are. So anyway, once again, wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. We will be reconvening for our full council meeting before then, so we'll get another chance to do it, and Christmas jumpers at the ready, everybody, okay? So with that, I'll close the meeting. Thank you.